Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Well, hi guys, Ezra here. How you doing? Ezra Levant. I'm the president of Rebel News, and 3 times a week, actually I think it's 4 times this week, I was in this chair hosting a live stream. David was out and about in the city yesterday, so I spotted off for him. It was fun to do it with Sheila Gunn-Reid, who comes in from Alberta via the Skype machine. So today I'm by myself, but that's no problem because I got you, babe. And one of the things we do in our live stream is we take questions and comments from the people. And because we have far too many for me just to read them all, we select the super chats. Those are chats behind which you put a couple bucks. It puts them in a bright color. Everybody sees them. They're actually stuck to the top of that comment window there for a while. And we like those because they're fun and because we get 70% of the revenue. So it's an important commercial project for us because YouTube has demonetized us in large part. So thank you. I have a few things I want to show you today, but I also am going to take your live stream super chat questions faster than I did because yesterday I think we waited like 45 minutes before we got into those, so I didn't mean to make you wait. Busy week, but then again, it's been a busy year. We are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the 2 weeks till we flatten the curve. So obviously it wasn't about flattening the curve. And I've encouraged people to think of that Latin phrase. And I don't know why, things just seem more authoritative in Latin, don't they? I mean, you can say the lawyer's working for free, or you could say the lawyer's working pro bono. It means the same thing, but it sort of seems more fancy pants to say pro bono. Maybe that's just a lawyer's way of talking. But one of the things I try and think of when I try and make sense of the world, especially in politics, is the Latin phrase cui bono, who benefits, who gets the payoff, who gets the benefit. And so why are we approaching 1 year of the 2-week lockdown? Who benefits? Why are we now told to have 2 masks, not just one? Like, out of the blue, we're in month 11 of the 2-week lockdown, and all of a sudden, the science is wear 2 masks. Where at first the science was wear no masks, then it was wear 1 mask, and now it's wear 2 masks. How did that happen? Well, maybe think about it. Cui bono, who benefits? We see that the vaccine is now not enough to return to normal life, we're told. That even with the vaccine, you still have to wear a mask, apparently. And you may need to take not just another shot of the first vaccine, but you may need vaccines, new vaccines, for all the different variants. These are the things I see bandied about by the public health deep state. So again, who benefits from that? Well, I mean, there's the most obvious answer, is that if you're in the mask business, the PPE business, 2 masks are better than 1 mask, and 1 mask is better than no masks. And if you can get people wearing a mask a day, in a country as small as Canada, 37 million people, times 300 days a year, that's still 10 billion masks. If my math, is my math right there? So you got 37 million times, if it was times 3, you would have approximately 100 million. But you're times 300, so 10 billion masks a year. 10 billion with a B masks a year. That's a lot of money. And that's just masks. That's not all the other accoutrements, the hand sanitizer, the folks who go full, hazmat suits, although there's not as much of that these days. 10 billion masks, so that'd be 100 billion masks a year in the United States. What's the cost of a test, like the virus test, to test if you have it? I've seen different estimates of the cost. I know if you need to get a test to get on an airplane, you could pay as much as $300 for a test, depending where you are. That's a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry. And then, of course, the virus vaccines themselves, now, even if they're given to the population for free, the government paid for them through taxes, borrowing, etc. That's got to be billions. If it's $100 a dose or whatever it is, and there's different companies, different prices, different doses, but it's not just the dose itself, it's the people who deliver it, it's the people who ship it, it's the people, like, it's a whole industry. That's got to be a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. Do you want to call up that story we published yesterday of Kevin Bosch, the lobbyist who used to work for Justin Trudeau in the Prime Minister's office? He's now a lobbyist with Hill and Knowlton, I think, and he immediately, when the pandemic broke, he immediately emailed right into his old friends at the PMO and said, you gotta come to us for your healthcare needs. Every other lobbyist in town was told, wait a minute, we'll put you on a waiting list. I think it was a newsjack that we did yesterday. Yeah, I think so. I think the image we used was of Kevin Bosch hugging Trudeau. Anyways, it's a former staffer of Trudeau who's now a lobbyist of Trudeau, and all the lobbyists in the world were trying to contact the government. Buy PPE from us, buy masks from us, buy tests from us. And everyone was told to wait, except for Kevin Bosch, who I knew when he was young in the city of Calgary. We grew up there together. And now he's making gazillions because he got like, what, a 9-figure deal. Yeah, exactly. Liberal lobbyist helped secure 3M pandemic supplies contract. Let's read this story. So that guy's Kevin Bosch on the left there. I went to school with him at the University of Calgary, I think it was, or maybe he was in the U of A with me too, but Calgary for sure. He looks the same. He looked the same 30 years ago. He hasn't aged a bit. That's him on the left. Let me read the story. Internal emails reveal that the 3M company was awarded pandemic subsidies within a week after the COVID-19 pandemic was declared following the hiring of a Liberal lobbyist. Emails released by Blacklock's reporter show that Kevin Bosch, a former deputy director of the Liberal Research Bureau, was quickly in contact with the Prime Minister's office at the behest of 3M, while competitors were told to register and await a call from the government. The documents show that on March 17th, just days after the pandemic declaration on March 11th, Bosch reached out to the PMO to lobby for 3M to receive a contract. Staff responding that night were then directed to resolve an issue that Kevin Bosch urgently raised. So they were told, oh, Kevin wants it, do it for Kevin. The federal government quickly sprung into action with 3M executives being in touch with a pair of cabinet ministers, that's nice, including Public Works Minister Anita Anand. Anand's chief of staff arranged a call for the minister, writing that, I haven't connected with Kevin. Could someone run this down and work up an email to the boss on who to call and a couple of bullets to say? Vice President of Hill and Knowlton Strategies and a registered lobbyist, Bosch touted his government contracts in an email sent to 3M's Director of Government Affairs. Hi Elise, I'm connecting you via this email with Kelly Murdoch, who heads up procurement for Minister of Procurement and Public Services, Anita Anand. Kelly is a good friend of mine and one of the smartest people I know. You know how smart she is? She knows to pay me $150 million. That's how smart she is. She's one of the smartest people I know for navigating the government and getting things done, as in getting you paid. She will be a great contact for you to have during the COVID-19 situation and beyond. I briefed her about some of your current issues and mentioned that your CEO is speaking with Minister Baines at 6:30 p.m. tonight. Kelly told me her minister would also be available to speak. Isn't that nice? The cabinet ministers are working for Liberal lobbies now. A memorandum to the minister written in early October obtained by Blacklock's showed that 3M won the contract for masks in a competition with 499 others. The memo highlighted 3M's price, manufacturing and supply chain length, and security, as well as product quality, blah, blah, blah. Imagine that, beating out 499 others. And the only one getting a phone call, everyone else told to wait. That's what happens when the entire organization takes its lead from the boss. Justin Trudeau is the most crooked prime minister we've had in recent history. He's been convicted umpteen times by the ethics commissioner. He laughs it off. He more or less admits he's corrupt. I mean, he brags about what he did to interfere with the SNC Lavalin corruption situation. So why are you surprised that every lobbyist and cabinet minister says, oh, okay, so that's what we do. We take calls from friends. If it's a friend who's calling, we tell everyone else to wait, and we give the 9-figure contract to a friend. So this tells the market, hire friends of Trudeau. I mean, not just friends, but family too. That's what We Charities did. They sent Sophie Trudeau on a luxury trip to meet Idris Elba in London. They sent Margaret Trudeau on luxury trips. They sent Bill Morneau on luxury trips. They know how Trudeau operates. We all know. I wrote a book about it called The Libranos. We all know how corrupt they are. So if you're 3M and you want a $150 million contract for masks, you'll pay $1 million to some lobbyist to get it. That's not even 1%. That's a rounding error. I mean, if you were 3M and you had two choices, wait in line with 499 other companies, and maybe they'll call you back, or hire Kevin Bosch, old Liberal friend of Trudeau's, used to work for Trudeau, pay him whatever you want, seriously. Pay him $1 million. Because look at that, he set up a phone call with the procurement minister that night, and he got the deal done. So not only is Trudeau corrupt, not only do all his cabinet and staff know, okay, that's how we operate, friends of friends, corruption, but now the business community knows, okay, so that's how it works here now. It's a little bit more third worldish than we're used to, but sure, if we have to pay a friend of Trudeau's $1 million or whatever it is to get a contract, I guess that's Canada now. It's a little bit Banana Republic-y, but that's Canada now. Hey, let me read some super chats as I promised I would. Henry S., $20. Thanks, Henry. Yorgi, $5. Ezra, I think this is all about control now, and unfortunately because of too much media, people become tribal and don't consider the other side. I think it's also, as Manny Montenegrino said to me last night, people are afraid of the social media mobs. He was saying, he remembers, I don't know, 20 years ago, the tobacco wars where restaurants were, there used to be a smoking section and a non-smoking section in restaurants. For people under the age of 30, they'll never have heard of that. But I remember when I was growing up, you go to a restaurant and you would say, table of 4 non-smoking, please. Table of 4 smoking. There was a smoking and a non-smoking section of the restaurant. And I remember the joke that the anti-tobacconists would say. They would say, that's like a peeing and non-peeing section of the swimming pool. And I thought that was a really funny line. And there's some truth to it, because of course smoke dissipates. But of course some restaurants had special ventilation, a special room, enclosures or whatever. But in the war against restaurants and bars, smoking was banned. It just was. And all these bars and restaurants, along with the tobacco companies, fought this in court. And they generally lost. But they fought, is the main point. They fought like hell. They got together and they fought. They got together and they hired lawyers and lobbyists and PR firms. That was before I worked for Rothmans about 15 years ago. I worked for them just on one matter, but that was before my time. And they fought. They lost, but they fought. And as Manny pointed out last night, if these restaurants would fight for that modest infringement on their business. So you're a bar, and you're told no smoking in the bar, and you go to court, how dare you? And you go to court to fight the no smoking ban. Why wouldn't you go to court to fight the everything ban? You hired lawyers, you hired PR firms to defend your right to have smokers. And smokers are sort of marginalized these days. It's sort of an epithet, right? Smoking is a byword for, oh, that's dirty, oh, that's low class, or whatever. It's a snobby thing, because, of course, the fancy people, like Trudeau, love marijuana. And when it comes to tobacco, the fancy people, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, enjoy cigars. Cigarettes are regarded as working class. And, by the way, cigarettes are also ethnic and Aboriginal. So it's a real snob thing, banning smoking. But my point is, that's exactly is my point. is that restaurants and bars went to bat for cigarette smoking, even though they were a marginalized community, as the left would say. These restaurants and bars fought like hell, and they usually lost. So where's that fighting spirit now? Why won't they fight like hell when the entire restaurant and bar is shut down? Manning's explanation was that they're worried about Twitter mobs and social media mobs and cancel culture, whereas they weren't 20 years ago. I think there's some truth to that. Mary Wall, $5. Thank you, Mary. Damien the Damage, $5. Would consider supporting Faith Goldie for Mayor of Toronto, given what Jay Tory is like? No. Faith Goldie is untrustworthy and racist. She appeared on the Daily Stormer podcast and concealed that fact. How you conceal going on a public podcast is beyond me. And kept that secret from us, which is why we fired her. And then after firing her, she went deeper down the alt-right rabbit hole. And I think she's disgraced herself. And I don't know what she's doing now. I've blocked her on all social media. I don't follow her. But I remember the very last thing I ever said to her. I said to her, if someone actually loved you, they would take away your cell phone. Because it was her addiction to Twitter and her absolute craving of affirmation in likes and retweets that got her in that mess to begin with. And I would vote for John Tory ahead of Faith Goldie. And I despise John Tory. Mum Life, $5.49, thank you. R1P buck, $2. Systemic liberal corruption is systemic. Yeah, I mean, Librano's going to Librano. Troy S., $5. Hi, Ezra. Have you ever thought of doing a show or an interview with Viva Fry? I think it would be extremely entertaining and also informative if you did. Well, I've actually been on his show a couple times. He's very smart. He's a lawyer and he has legal themes most of the time, but he does talk about politics. Maybe he would come on our show. He's a smart guy. He has a strong American focus, which I really like. And I think he's open-minded. I think, he's based in Montreal, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he comes from a more liberal background, but he's an open-minded guy, which is very rare. And that's hard to do. So I'm a fan of his. Are we up to speed with the Super Chats? One more just come in. Fraser McBurney, $5. Every once in a while I enjoy a single malt scotch and a fine cigar with friends. Nothing is more enjoyable. Try it sometimes. Well, isn't that true? And I have not had either in quite a while. And I'm not disparaging either. I'm just saying that part of the war on smoking is a classist war. And everyone has their sins, everyone has their addictions, especially when it comes to health. I mean, you can have a cigarette, and that's considered low class, or you could smoke a cigar, and that's considered high class. You can drink an expensive scotch, or you could drink a cheap wine out of a carton. And that's alcohol, but then there's food. You go to a fine restaurant, and cheesecake's on the menu, and you know that's not healthy, but you have it because you're a grown-up, and there's more to life than just longevity. And so you have a slice of cheesecake. You know you shouldn't, but there's more to life than just eating carrots and celery and being dreary. Caffeine is a drug. So it's a sense of fashion. If you are a fancy person, a fine scotch, a fine cigar, a $10 slice of cheesecake after fettuccine Alfredo in a fancy restaurant, that's classy. But someone eating McDonald's and having a smoke, that's low class. So which one is banned? I think there's a definite classism. The working classes smoke more than the upper classes. Ethnic minorities and immigrants do. And of course, tobacco itself originates from Aboriginal people. So I think there's some other cultural things at play. I mean, listen, to me, there are much greater civil liberties infringements afoot now. The whole reason I was talking about cigarettes earlier is to point out that the hospitality industry went to war over those more modest infringements, and I have not seen a class action on behalf of restaurants or bars in this COVID lockdown nonsense. I have not even seen particularly vigorous lobbying from the Restaurant Association. I just haven't seen it. Why not? Craig McDonald, $7. How about an interview with the Maverick Party's Jay Hill? Well, perhaps it was you, Craig, but someone said that just yesterday when I was co-hosting with Sheila, and Sheila said she was interested in it and would try and follow up. Avery Thurman, $5. Ezra, please look at worlddoctorsalliance.com and canadianfrontlinenurses.ca. Doctors and nurses being fired for telling the truth about treatment and deaths. Did we do something about that nurses group? You know, sounds familiar. So I just clicked on Canadian Frontline Nurses. I see a press conference there, Global Nurses. We might have, I think we might have actually done a story about this. I'll have to check. We do so much, I have to confess, we do so many videos and shows at Rebel News now. I don't have a chance to watch them all. And I know you might be thinking, that's outrageous. How can you not watch them all? Because, first of all, I spend time doing my own content. Plus, I have to run the business side of the business. So I just don't have time to watch everything. Luckily, we have excellent editors and our chief reporter, Sheila, and others who keep an eye on things. So I actually don't know if we've covered that story. Some days we're doing 10 videos a day. Is it 10 videos a day we're up to? Some days. Some days it's 10 videos a day. And I love it. It's one of the reasons we set up a secondary YouTube page called Rebel News Clips. Because we were coming up on like 20 items a day, frankly, when we included the clips. And I think it was too much for one YouTube channel. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that stuff out. We do have a story? Oh, there we go. We do have it. I thought so. Okay, so I'm not quite as... I knew it was... You know, I knew that. I just didn't want to say with great certainty. Frontline workers join forces to highlight harmful policy. So that is a story by Tamara, which doesn't surprise me because she's been excellent on this stuff and she has a nose for news on that. So thank you, Tamara, for covering that. And thank you, Avery, for noting that. And may I invite you to watch that video. And I apologize that I didn't have it at my fingertips. Troy S., $5. Would you do a show with Tim Pool? I think the two of you would make a very informative and entertaining show for both of your audiences. I've never spoken with him that I recall. I like what I see. First of all, I like his style. I like his hat. I think he's tough. I think he's smart. I think he's a natural contrarian. I think he's got ambition. I think he's a good thinker. I mean, I'm not endorsing everything the lad has ever said, but what I see in him is a streak of freedom of expression, a wariness of government control. And if my memory serves me correctly, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think he's actually engaged with Jack Dorsey, the president of Twitter. I think they had a live, or maybe the VP of Twitter there too. So he doesn't just talk about it, he tries to challenge authority in defense of free speech. So yeah, in short, from what I know of Tim Pool, I mean, I'm not a regular watcher, but from what I know of him, and I follow him on Twitter, I'm impressed. I don't know what he thinks of me, but I'm sure we would have a lot to talk about because we care about freedom and censorship and the diminution, I always have trouble with that word, the diminution of the bandwidth we're allowed to speak. You know, there's that phrase, the Overton window. Do you know what I'm talking about? Glenn Beck wrote a book with that in its title. You move the window, the Overton window, of what's possible and what's possible and what's possible, and you normalize what was once abnormal. And the censorship that we take for granted today, 5 years ago would have been unthinkable. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, deleting the President of the United States, unthinkable. Well, it's been thunk. It's been thunk. Gail Bollinger for $7, thank you. And Shaman Srivastava $5. Thanks to you and Tamara for exposing what they're doing to pregnant women in the hospitals and in elder homes. Common sense not so common these days. Yeah, Andrea just had a great video yesterday about the care homes. Tamara and Andrea are very strong on these issues. Barakathor, $5. I'm curious, how personal is the Jewish World War II Holocaust to you? And when you look at modern racial supremacists, do you tend to put both things together? How personal is the Jewish World War II Holocaust to you? Well, I mean, my family came over from Eastern Europe in 1903. So had they not done so, I might not even be here today. I have no connection, and I don't know if my parents or grandparents did, to anyone in Europe. But of course, I'm attentive, and I've studied the Holocaust historically. I've been to various memorials and museums. And when I was growing up in Calgary, I went to a Jewish school, very small, and the principal and the Yiddish teacher were from Europe, and they actually had survived the Holocaust, and they met, if I'm not mistaken, Aaron Eichler and his wife. He was the principal. She was the Yiddish teacher. I think they met in a concentration camp. They survived. They came to Canada. So that's my personal connection, is my teachers when I was in elementary school were survivors. So I had a very interesting introduction to those subjects from actual survivors who were my teachers when I was in grade 1 to 6. Pink Phoenix Nails, $2. Thank you, Ezra. Shout out to Justin. Larry Jackson, $5. Would you do an interview with Steven Crowder? Now, when you say that, and also the question about Tim Pool and Viva Frei, do you want me to interview them, or do you want them to interview me? Because we're both sort of in the interviewing business. These days, I don't generally interview other journalists as general pundits. Maybe that's not quite true. I have Lauren Gunter on to give me sort of a Western update, and I talked to Alan Bokhari and Joel Pollack. But it's not just a generic, hey, how are you doing? When I talk to Joel Pollack, I want to know about American politics, particularly on the Democrat side. I regard him as a bit of an expert on that. I mean, what's an expert in politics? We're all experts. But he really follows the Democrats very closely. He lives in California. He's written several books on the Democrats, and he's one of the fairest. I mean, he's obviously a Republican. I think he was a former candidate himself. He's obviously conservative. He writes for Breitbart. But I do regard him as a fair-minded journalist covering the left. And Alan Bokhari, obviously, breaks a lot of news on the tech front. But generally, I wouldn't just interview an interviewer. I like Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, and Viva Frei. I like all three of them. But I like their work when they're discussing subjects. Just to have them on and say, hey, how you doing? That's more someone I'd like to have a beer with. And I have at least 2 beers a year. So, I'd love to have a beer with Tim Pool, Viva Frei, or Steven Crowder. I'm not sure if I would interview them or them interview me, because it would be like two general pundits interviewing each other. I don't know if that makes any sense, what I just said there, but you can tell me. All right, am I caught up? Oh, I'm not quite caught up. Let me catch up here. Cindy McSeven, 549, thanks for all you do at The Rebel. Well, thanks, Cindy. I'm so proud of our team. The team's working so hard. We're making a real difference. I really believe that. We had a Fight the Fines win just today. I think David Menzies is going to do an update. I love those wins, because people say, can you really fight City Hall? Can you really fight and win? Yes. In fact, we had a win. I'm not going to steal David's thunder, but one of the cases he covered won. Stéphane Mayou, pair character lifting some weight, saying, keep it up. I will try to keep it up. Mary Wall, $5. Thank you. Karen Stoppel, $5. Ezra, yesterday I watched in horror Drea's story about the mom that was kept from her mom. Can they sue for wrongful death? I wouldn't want to give professional legal advice, but I would think so. Chris Lynch, $5. Have you reached out to any current Conservative MPs to interview on how the party is imploding on itself? They only talk to CBC and CTV, who only ask COVID questions. Oh, you know what? I'm so sad about the state of the Conservative Party. And my show tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern will be on the most amazing thing. I won't give it all away, but I'll give you some premonitions right now. So first, Aaron O'Toole distanced himself from Rebel News. And it was really weird the way he did it, because he gave me an email interview about my China scoop. We published it, and that day he said, I renounce Rebel News. Well, why? First of all, it was a good interview. And second of all, what's your problem? I mean, we literally published the interview verbatim. It was really weird, but then it started to make more sense when he sacked Derek Sloan, also on a false pretense. Oh, Derek Sloan accepted a donation from a well-known racist. Yeah, Frederick P. Fromm is not a well-known racist. That's actually Paul Fromm, who was hiding his name. And by the way, Aaron O'Toole and his staff accepted the donation and issued a membership to him. So it was a stitch-up. It was not the legitimate reason why Aaron O'Toole sacked Derek Sloan. But, you know, one's a mistake, two is odd, but three is a trend. Then he sacks Pierre Poilievre, really the only successful critic in the Conservative Party. Are you starting to see a trend here? Distance from the rebel, sack Derek Sloan in a sham trial, show trial. Get rid of Pierre? That's the craziest of them all. I mean, the rebel that's my own thing. I mean, I think the rebel is an important way for conservative MPs to speak to the conservative base. We got 1.44 million people, many of them who are conservative voters. You don't want to talk to them? All right, that's your funeral. But Derek Sloan, okay, leadership rival, getting rid of a rival, whatever. But you're sacking Pierre Poilievre? Are you crazy? Who wants to get rid of Pierre Poilievre? Well, Justin Trudeau does. And Bill Morneau probably wished it happened a year earlier. You're taking your best fighter out of the game? Your only fighter out of the game? Weird, right? But now you got three data. You know, there's that old saying, the plural of anecdote is not data. And the meaning there is just because you see a few things doesn't mean there's a pattern. All right, but at what point do you say, okay, there's a pattern here? Distance from the rebel, sack Derek Sloan in a stitch-up, fire your only competent critic, Pierre, and tonight I'm going to tell you about the craziest of all, crazy. It's so crazy you spell it in the French way, crazy. You want to distance yourself from Jason Kenney? Okay, mate. Again, I know that Justin Trudeau wants that, but is that the right thing for conservatives to do? Very, very, very weird. That's my show tonight. Where are we? Dr. Fine, $20. I find the real life busybody caring individual with regards to small businesses worrying, especially since it seems more encouraged now to go out of your way to look in the windows of small businesses not breaking the law. Oh, you know what? And I really recommend that film. Is it called The Lives of Others? Can you throw the movie poster on the screen? It was a movie made after the fall of the Berlin Wall. It was set in Germany. In fact, if I remember correctly, it was actually a German movie in German with English subtitles. It's called The Lives of Others. And it was, I watched it 20 years ago. I should watch it again. You should watch it again too. It's incredible. It was, you know, there's some very interesting movies about what it was like. Yeah, The Lives of Others. You can see that guy in the top there with his listening, his headphones on. He would listen in to private residents. He would spy not on foreign embassies or foreign militaries. He would spy on his fellow Germans. He would listen to them in their homes for hours. And that's why it's called The Lives of Others. And the intrigues and the informants and the snitches and the heartbreak and the betrayal. Hell of a movie. I should watch that again. It's been 20 years. Thank you. So that's The Lives of Others. We watch movies like that, and there's a dark comedy called The Death of Stalin. Do you want to throw that one up also? Death of Stalin, I think it came out last year. A comedy. I mean, Steve Buscemi, you know who I'm talking about? He was in it. He played Khrushchev. It was just the most unusual cast in that movie. And it was about the death of Stalin. Yeah. Like, look at those guys. Who's that guy in the middle there? I forget his name. Jeffrey Tambor, I think that's his name. And like they're good actors. The Death of Stalin, I recommend that. It was a comedy, so there's dark jokes in it. And there's obviously, it's not a documentary, but it shows the absurdity and the cruelty and the perpetual fear of the Soviet Union. And I say again, I know it's a fiction, I know it's a comedy, I know. But through comedy, it shows the absurd brutality. The brutality of what it was like. I mean, obviously it is based on the death of Stalin and the power struggle thereafter. Just atrocious. Well done. I encourage people to watch those movies. And, you know, someone asked me about, I talked earlier about growing up in Calgary, going to this school when I was a youngin'. And I always thought, how could they have done it? How could the Germans have done what they did? And how could the Jews have not seen it coming? Like any Jew who stuck around. Like Hitler came to power in 1933. It was 6 more years before the hot war started. You know, there was the annexation of the Czech Sudetenland. I think that was in 1938. But the invasion of Poland wasn't for 6 years. How could you be a Jew in Berlin, see Hitler take power in 1933, see the Nuremberg laws come in 1935, see German troops march into Czechoslovakia in 1938, and not get out? You're not leaving. Like I grew up as a kid thinking, how is that? And I grew up thinking, how could those terrible, I just didn't get it. And I suppose that's because when you're a child, you think, that was then, this is now, that's history, it's all in black and white, we live in color, so that must be in a different era. That's why Marina Amaral, do you know Marina Amaral? Amaral. She's a Brazilian photo restorer. She's on Twitter, Marina, Amaral. She takes old photographs, particularly, throw it in Google rather than Twitter. She takes old photographs, a lot of military photographs, and colorizes them. Sure, and then just click on media so you'll get her photos. I just want to show them. My point is, when we look at the past in black and white, so here, like that's a simple example. She's colorizing a ship. She'll just find interesting pictures and then colorize them. But scroll down till we find like just interesting people. There's some military ones that she does that are very powerful. So I enjoy following her. She's completely non-political, by the way. She has a wide range of interests. She'll find an old photograph. Yeah, keep scrolling until we find a good one. She'll find an old photograph, and then she'll study it. She'll try and find out who was in the photograph. She'll try and learn their names. And then she'll try and historically find out about them as much as possible and what would the colors have been. So what's that one there? I don't know what that, okay, keep going. I haven't, you know, scroll way down because she goes on themes there. So let's skip these themes. Maybe I'm taking up too much time on this. But she specializes in military stuff. Like to see, yeah, like who's that there? Is that Ulysses Grant? Click on that link there. let's just let this populate for a second. So you can see she has a beach scene. Yeah, scroll down a bit. So I think that's Grant. Yeah, Sherman. Duh. General William Tecumseh Sherman. Civil War. When you see these Confederate soldiers, or there's some World War II flyboys on the left, right? On the left. Or scroll down more. Are there women? Okay, they're not flyboys. Thank you, they're fly girls. 4 female pilots leaving their ship. That's Grant. Okay, I'm sorry, you know what? I got my Grant and my Sherman mixed up. Will you forgive me? That looks like Ike. Yeah, Ike addresses the troops. Who's that? Is that Darwin? The bottom right there? Darwin. Look at that, Lincoln without a beard. These are photos. That's a colorized photo. That looks like King George on the left. Or no, that looks like the Tsar of Russia. Tsar Nicholas. When you see them in color, these are photographs that have been colorized. Does it not change how you... There's Mark Twain. There's Mark Twain. Mata Hari, the World War I spy. Who's that handsome? Is that Charlie Chaplin? In the bottom middle there? Charlie Chaplin. Who's that? Teddy Roosevelt on the left? And that's the Tsar on the right there. Is that Bernard Shaw? Sigmund Freud. There's Rasputin. Look at those eyes. There's Lincoln again. There's the assassin of Abe Lincoln, that guy on the bottom right. Abraham Lincoln assassination conspirator Lewis Powell, is that his name? Like, look at him. Look at that hipster. Colorized, it looks completely different, doesn't it? And it changes how you think of them. George Patton, obviously, there. When you think of wars in old-timey times, like look at D-Day there in the middle. You think black and white. And the problem with a black and white photo is it doesn't just give you less information, it changes the information. You think that wasn't now. We are different from Who's that handsome mustachioed man? Archduke Ferdinand, the one who was assassinated, I presume, that caused as the spark for the First World War. Who's that on the left there? Schopenhauer. Isambard Kingdom Brunel, perhaps the greatest industrialist engineer of the United Kingdom, in front of those massive chains. Who's that lady? Who's that? Is that Frederick Douglass there in the bottom? Indeed it is. What a handsome man. So this is Marina Amaral. But do you see my point? I don't know if I made my point. Let me sum up my point. Thanks, Justin. If you think of World War II in black and white, if you think about Soviet domination in black and white, if you think about anything in black and white, you're mentally saying that's the before times, we're in the now times, we're enlightened, they were dark. That was in the dark ages. You can see it's dark because it's black and white. We're not like that. We're better people. We're morally better. So there I was, a child learning about the Holocaust, wondering how could the Jews have stuck around and had 6 years to get out? Why didn't they? How could the Germans have done those things? And then you say that not just in World War II. How could the Stasi have done that? How could the KGB have done that? And you think with the vanity and narcissism and self-centrism of today, you say, we wouldn't have done that. We would not have snitched on our neighbors. We would not have turned in Anne Frank. If we were in Holland in the 40s and we knew there was a Jewish girl in the attic, of course we wouldn't have turned her in. Of course not. Of course we wouldn't have snitched. Well, of course not. Of course we would have stood up. Give me that meme of the one guy not saluting. Of course, if we were at a Nazi rally, we would be the one guy not giving the Sieg Heil. Of course. That's because first of all, I'm a good person, I should have you know. And second of all, I'm a very brave person, I'll have you know. And third of all, I'm very moral and I'm very enlightened and everything old is bad. Yeah, this well-known photo, everyone Sieg Heiling, everyone giving the Hitler salute, except that one guy. That would be me. Hey guys, that would be me. And you know it because I am more enlightened than the other 20 people in that photo. But in fact, as we see, as our civil liberties are stripped away from us on the slightest pretext, oh, did you know that 1 in 1,000 people dies from the cough? we'd better take away your civil liberties for a year. How much snitching is going on about masks and get-togethers? Is snitching every day? Everyone's a snitch these days. Oh, no, I wouldn't have turned in Anne Frank. Oh, yes, you would have. I see how you're acting towards someone without a mask. Oh, I would have been nice. Yeah, I see you scolding. You know, we had that video the other day of an old lady being scolded for no mask. Oh, I'm a double masker. That's how noble I am. And my point about black and white is that we think we're different because that was in the before times. We are no different than those in the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany or those other colorized photos. We're no different from them. And we are failing the moral test. And if you think that you would have been one of those to stand up to the Nazis, this is your time to prove it. I remind you that those who turned in Anne Frank were following the law. And those that hid Anne Frank were breaking the law. Oh, but the law says, oh, just do it. Just put on your mask. The law says it. Come on, just do it. It's just a mask. Damon, damn, it's $5. I don't mean to be rude, but what happened to that British gay couple that tried to blackmail you? You're talking about Kaylin Robertson and George Llewellyn-John. I honestly don't know. I haven't followed them. I haven't heard from them or about them in years, and I'm happy. Patty Radman, $13.99. Have you seen any interviews with Dolores Cahill? She's a scientist with expertise in viruses. She is incredible. DoloresCahill.com. Well, I clicked on that link you sent me, and it's a spam link. So I fear you have not done the right link there. Mr. Hammerdance, 223. Shout out to Junior's Burgers on Portage in Winnipeg. Does that mean they're breaking the lockdown? Do you want to Google Junior's Burgers in Winnipeg? Or maybe that's just someone saying I like burgers, in which case I support. Cindy McSeven, $35. In 2016, someone told me to go to media about what happened to my dad in a retirement home instead of the police. Looking back, I would have gone to the Rebel. I regret I went to police now. Well, I just don't know any facts other than what you've just told me. We are quite stretched. We've tried to grow, and we've tried to take anyone who needs help. And just yesterday, I asked my team to count up the total number of cases we have, the total number of people we're helping. And I got the reply, but I didn't read it yet. So if you bear with me for 1 minute, I'm going to tell you a fact. Here it is. Are you ready to have your socks knocked off? In the United Kingdom, we are helping 39 people fight the fines. In Australia, 231. And in Canada, the country that we love, we are fighting 273 cases. And we have received and are trying to catch up and process a grand total of 440 cases. So that includes the 273. The grand total, let me just get my pen out, 9 plus 1 is 0, carry the 1. 7 plus 4 is 1, carry the 1. You're not going to believe this, folks. 710 cases. 710. So the ones that we are actually lawyered up with, I'm going to just do that math really quickly. 4 plus 9 is 3, carry the 1. 4, carry the 1. So we have 543 clients already on board. And a grand total of 710 people when you include those who've asked for help. So we're trying to catch up. That's off the hook. That's off the hizzy. That's just Can you even? What do the kids say? I can't even. I can't even. Can't even. Just the ones we lawyered up, 543. 5? Are your socks knocked off? That's cool. So, the 543 is a very impressive number. The 710 is an insane number. And I want to let you know that have we ever played during the daytime on contestelescontreventions.com? Well, oh my God, we got to do that. So we have 710 cases. It's like people have asked for help, people we've lawyered up, people we've requested disclosure from the Crown, and actually people who have been acquitted without a trial, and then we've actually started to, I don't think we've actually had a full trial yet, because the courts are all gummed up. Can you go to contestelescontreventions.com? Do you know how to spell that? Contester. You have a link to it. So, 710 cases. But I have signed, you're going to laugh at me, I have signed a contract with a law firm at Quebec to literally defend 1,000 people there. Did I show my French is so bad it's going to cause another separatist referendum. I practiced for like 2 hours, and I thought, I'm not getting any better. Let's just do it. Let's play. Can you fast forward, play about a minute before we get to Christina Mukari, then play that part, and then play a minute afterwards? Because otherwise, I just want to. Christina, who's one of the lawyers there, she's that would be about 2/3 of the way in. So give about a minute of me before Christina, then my interview with Christina en français, and then about a minute afterwards. I'm very excited. We have 710 cases, of whom we've lawyered up for 543. And I want to show you that I have said to a law firm in Quebec, will you take 1,000 cases? And they say, mais oui, monsieur. Can you even believe 1,000 cases? Oh, I hear the Francais. Yeah, wherever you are, pump it up, pump it up, pump it up. Guys, I haven't studied French in a while, but I want to show you.
Du Québec, je ne peux m'imaginer Montréal sans ses restaurants et ses boîtes de nuit. Une fin de semaine à Québec sans une promenade le long des murs de la ville. Que vous ont-ils fait? Permettez-moi vous présenter Christina Mukari, avocat principal chez TicketAid, le cabinet d'avocats avec qui nous avons conclu un contrat de prise en charge de 1000 dossiers. Bonjour Christina, merci de prendre part à ce projet des défense des libertés civiles.
Bonjour Ezra, ça fait plaisir de faire partie de cette équipe.
Avez-vous étudié la législation sur le confinement et le couvre-feu? Votre firme est-elle prête à se battre pour les Québécois?
Oui, on a pris connaissance de ce qui se déroule présentement au Québec, puis on est prêt à embarquer dans le projet.
Votre firme est-elle en mesure de traiter 1000 dossiers en anglais comme en français?
Oui, bien entendu. Donc, on travaille dans les deux langues, puis notre équipe est prête à recevoir tous ces constats d'infraction-là, puis débattre de ça.
Merci, Christina. Voilà mes nouvelles. Si vous avez besoin d'aide, rendez-vous sur le site web contestelescontreventions.com et remplissez le formulaire. Si vous n'avez pas besoin d'aide, mais que vous voulez aider les autres, rendez-vous au même endroit pour faire un don à Christina à son équipe juridique. Merci et bonne chance à tous.
Merci, everybody, et bonne chance à tous. That's a little bit of Francais. I practiced. That's Christina Mukari, and I said, hey, Christina, can you help us fight tickets for the couvre-feu? That's a curfew couvre-feu. She said, mais oui, Ezra. I said, can you help us en anglais et en français? She said, mais oui. I said, are you ready for 1,000 cases? She said, bring it on. I said, all right. And then I said, hey, mon ami, mes amis, go to contesterlescontraventions.com and we'll help you. We are helping our brothers and sisters in Quebec. And the reason I said, if you want to watch that whole video, I said, if we're helping people in the United Kingdom, and if we're helping people in Australia, surely we should help people in our own country en français. I don't speak French. As you can see, that was just painful listen. That was like Preston Manning level French. That was Joe Clark level French. That's going to start the battle on the plains of Abraham again, just the amount of bad will that français generated. But all kidding aside, we've agreed to help people en français à Quebec. And my French is terrible, but the firm there is perfectly bilingual, as you could see. So they're going to help people in English and French. I'm pretty excited about that. So let me catch up a little bit on the Super Chats. Libby T, $5. Pierre wasn't sacked. Moved him to business and industry, according to the Toronto Star. Well, when I want my news about the Conservative Party, there's no one I trust more than the Toronto Star. Not only are they well known for their accuracy, but they truly care about the success of the Conservative Party and would never mislead you. No one knows conservative politics like the Toronto Star. By the way, they get $110,000 a week from Justin Trudeau, so you know it's Trudeau-level accuracy. Would you really replace your finance critic? Really the only part of the organization that's working? And by the way, finance is about jobs. So I don't agree with you, Libby T. George Riggs, $5. Keep up the fight. We need you guys. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you very much, George. Chris Lynch, $2. When do you think the next CPC leadership race will be? It won't be until after the next election. I don't know the Constitution offhand. It's maybe delayable even more than that. Sidney McSeven, I would have hid Anne Frank. My mom grew up in London Blitz. I asked the same questions as Ezra until now. How could Germans do what they did in World War II? Because the madness of crowds, because of peer pressure, because you can be conditioned and trained very quickly. If I would have told you 12 months ago that you would be wearing face masks and locked in homes and schools would be shut down and gyms would be shut down and travel would be shut down and we'd have black ops, black site rendition hotels, you would say, you crazy. I said, no, monsieur, I'm not crazy. That's exactly what's happening. Calvin Arndt, $10. I wish Rebel would interview Mike Lindell and comment on his documentary, Absolute Proof. It seems evidence emerges every day showing that Trump won. Therefore, Biden's presidency should be voided. You know, I saw my friend Andrew Lawton interview Mike Lindell just the other day. I haven't had a chance to watch the interview. It's not a bad idea. He's quite a character, that Mike Lindell. I have not watched Absolute Proof. We would have to put a warning label on it because, as you may know, there's two things YouTube will censor you on immediately. Number one, taking a contrary view on the pandemic. That's why we have that warning at the beginning of every video. And number two, on the 2020 election. They will literally cancel your YouTube account if you speak improperly about that. You have to have a warning label. It's just the worst censorship. It's just shocking censorship. Again, you would tell that to someone 5 years ago, they would never believe you. But we're used to it. We're conditioned to it. We're obedient people, aren't we? Sheriff family, $5. Trudeau just announced mandatory tests and hotel quarantines for anyone coming in or land or air at their own expense beginning February 22nd. I don't even think that's constitutional, by the way. I see the United Kingdom is thinking of the same thing, and Adam Wagner, a leading constitutional lawyer over there, says that's just not a thing. That's not legal. But I find that our law society, our law professors are very submissive to Trudeau. You couldn't go a week without the law professors of the land writing some mass letter condemning Harper for this or that. But they seem to be quite meek and mild when their buddy Trudeau's in office. Melly B, $5. Super Chatting Rebel News is an investment in truth and freedom. Thanks to you. Hey, Justin. Justin is French for Justin. There, just letting you know. Melly B, $5. Super Chatting Rebel News. Oh, yeah, I just read that one. Ray W, £10. Well done, all at Rebel. Thanks. Violamon, $5. Thank you. Melly B again, $5. Hey, Ezra, do you know if the police can arrest you for not providing identification like they are threatening everybody now? I thought they couldn't. You know what? I've asked, we hired a full-time in-house staff lawyer, and I've asked her like I think I know the answer to that, but I've asked Victoria to put together a absolutely rock solid answer to that question. I think I know the answer, but I'm not going to answer you because Victoria of our team, I said, Victoria, can you answer that and about 2 other questions, like what ID do you have to give, if at all? I asked her about like a few practical questions, and I want to, you know what? Let me come back to you. Let me circle back on that, but maybe on Monday, and maybe I'll do a little segment on Monday on the live stream. I'll get that from Victoria because I don't want to go off half-cocked here, okay? I want my answer to be dead right. I think it is, but I actually asked the lawyer to give me the super duper answer, so sorry I'm not ready, but I'm thinking the same way you're thinking. Dr. $5, the fact they instituted an actual curfew in Quebec is crazy. What was the point of it? Was it just to penalize the population? Well, it's part of the obedience training. As I said, en français, at contestelecontravention.com, that's a website, I said, a curfew, that's what parents give to children. It's not what adult, there's no adult curfew. And I said, en français, Quebec is treating the innocent like they treat the guilty. And they're treating the healthy like they treat the sick. Now that just don't make sense in any language, now do it. Cindy McSeven, $14, pair character bowing down and saying thank you. Well, merci à vous aussi. How's my French? Sandy Pockler, $20, thanks Sandy. Sandy Pockler again, $5. Are you aware of David Parker, a so-called political assassin who claims to have taken down Shear, Poiliev, and Karahalios, O'Toole's buddy? I've seen reference to him. Because I get Jim Karahalios' emails, so I have seen references to him. I should tell you that may be true, but there's a hazard of politics. People brag. It's, you know the saying, victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat is an orphan. Have you ever heard that? That's another way of saying everyone likes to take credit for things. It's human nature. And in politics, whoever is the loudest and most confident often gets credit for things. So that his boasting may be true. But in my experience, the most powerful people are often the quietest because they just are powerful. They don't have to say they are. They just are. George Soros doesn't go around saying, I'm the most powerful guy. I did that. Hey, I did that. He doesn't, I mean, actually his website, the Open Society Foundation. Do you want to go there for 1 second? Open Society Foundations. It's actually a remarkable website. I recommend you spend time on it. It's not a boasting website. It's like a here's what we're doing. Get involved in our projects. I wouldn't call it boastful. It's sort of here's what we're up to. $16.8 billion, 50,000 grants awarded. What we do. There's a so yeah, and then Soros has a where we work. George Soros. Go up to show people the URL. It's just Open Society Foundations, right? Yeah. So you know what? This looks a little. It's not. I wouldn't call this a boasting website. I'd call it a news website. But just in that personal, I did this, I did that. .org. Thank you. I think powerful people don't boast. In politics, the noisier the guy. So I'm skeptical. Especially if the guy's in the business, like in the business of politics, he has to drum up business. Cindy McSeven, $4, pair character, stretching arms forward, raising thumbs up. Thank you, Cindy. Pepe Le Pew Levant, $5. Ooh la la. Well, merci. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? You know, don't get me singing. I was singing Beef Angel yesterday, and I got a very unhappy email from someone who said, I follow Rebel for news, not for karaoke. And I don't think he saw the humor in Beef Angel. And I think my singing did to him what my French did to La Belle Provence. Caused a lot of hurt. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? This is why. Viola Man, $5. What do you think about this third wave they have been talking about? Laugh out loud. Oh, and there'll be a fourth wave and a fifth wave, and they'll just keep coming up with new. It's a perpetual. It's perpetual. You know what? It ain't gonna stop. As we started the show saying, cui bono, who benefits? There's just too many people who benefit from this, and the folks who are supposed to be on guard are not, and the population is remarkably submissive and obedient. So it ain't going to end. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Beef angel ribs. That sounds good. All right, well, it's 1:05. I don't know. You know what? I did a little bit of singing and I spoke a little bit in French, Justin. And I'm looking at this live stream right now. And are there any dislikes? What does minus mean? Because I thought my singing would have generated hundreds of dislikes. Like it would have shattered windows, cats would be crying, you know, little babies. Yeah. One of the first French songs I learned in college was by Roch Voisine. Do you know him? Do you know who he is? He's big in Quebec, used to be. I'm not going to sing it, but I learned a lot of words. You know what? I think learning songs is a great way to learn the words. I'm not going to subject everyone. Can you play 10 seconds of Roch Voisine, R-O-C-H, Voisine, V-O-I-S-I-N-E? And I'll always remember him for his song, Helen. Sur le sable, les yeux dans l'eau, mon rêve était trop beau. Can you put him on instead of me? I don't want to punish people with my... Oh, we got 10 dislikes. Okay, good. That's normal. Thank you for the dislikers. Yeah, give me a little... I know we're going to be demonetized, but give me a little bit of Roch Voisine. So pretty. So pretty. Can you give me a look? I just want to hear his voice. You got to hear the voice. It's like an angel crying in your ear. It's like a beef angel. And he's a handsome man. Oh, give me the viz. I know we're going to lose it. Give me the viz. Look at that guy. Is that good? Reminds me a little bit of Richard Marx, but like just in terms of prettiness level and the sweetness level. Slightly more masculine than Richard Marx. I think that's a Quebec anthem. Now, I know I'm 20 years out of date, but that is one of the pretty... Is that a pretty song? Have you ever heard that one before? It is a very pretty song. That's a great song. And today I express my love for La Belle Provence. My friends, a few more super chats. All right, I'll read them and then we're going to go. Where are you here? Sorry, there we go. Ian Myers, $50. Thank you very much, Ian. It's very nice. Thanks for being the rebel. You and your staff are the only two journalists left in Canada. And as you can see, I'm a hell of a karaokeer. You know, what I lack in talent, I make up for with enthusiasm. That's the story of my life. Not a lot of natural talent, but just double the effort, double the volume, double the, big old smile. And I think my signature karaoke song is Sweet Child of Mine. A great karaoke song, and we're going to end with one more copyright violation. Can you go to Step Brothers, Sweet Child of Mine? Do you know that one? Very funny movie called Step Brothers. Will Ferrell and the guy with three names whose name I can never remember, who does a lot of movies with Will Ferrell. And Sweet Child of Mine is a beautiful song by Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses. He does it a little bit metal, a little bit anthem rock, like stadium rock. But there's this fun a cappella version in Step Brothers. And there's about 10 ways you can tackle Sweet Child of Mine. I'm going to give you 30 seconds of that, then we're going to end with the dog video, and I'm going to put you out of your misery watching this karaoke show. But this is my favorite song in karaoke. I don't do it in this a cappella way. I try and follow Axl Rose. That's sort of like WWAXRD. What would Axl Rose do? So like I'm in any moral quandary, and I think, well, I don't know. You know, that, I see the pros and cons of that. I see the pros. What would Axl Rose do? That's sort of my guide. So I follow him. But this is an interesting variation on the theme. Here's Sweet Child of Mine from Step Brothers. Take a look.
3, 4. Bum. She's got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories, where everything was as fresh as a bright blue sky.
All right, Tommy, you're the oldest. I'm counting on you. Come on.
She's got eyes of the bluest skies, as if they thought of rain. I hate to look into those eyes and see it now.
Nice vibrato, buddy. All right, Alice, let's go.
Reminds me of a warm, safe
Flat.
place.
It's so flat. I don't even know. You don't even look good while you're singing. The worst thing I've ever heard. This is $1,200 a week for voice lessons, and this is what I get? Okay, I'm going to save it with the solo.
Bow, bow, I'm dead, and I can sing high like that, and I can sing high.
Oh, that is so funny. Oh, and it gets friends. Just if you watch more and they almost get in a car accident. Very funny movie, Step Brothers. But that actually shows the versatility of that song, Sweet Child of Mine. I mean, she's got eyes of the bluest skies, and if they thought of rain, I would hate to look into those eyes and see an ounce of pain. That is poetry, and I don't care how nasty Axl Rose looks these days. I'll always remember him as the poet that wrote that song, and please nobody disabuse me of that notion and tell me it was written by someone else. In my mind, that's 100% Axl. Paradise City, pretty cool also. All right, folks, before I inflict any more harm on you, there's one more super chat. I'll read that. You got the dog video ready? Got a dog video ready. One more super chat. Harless LaForge, David the hemorrhoid Menzies, because he's a serious pain in the ass to certain hotels. All right, I see what you've done there. It's sort of a backhanded insult or a backhanded compliment. I know you mean it as a compliment. I know you mean that in the best way. So I accept it on his behalf. Folks, thank you for letting me sing a little bit to you today. I'll do my best never to do that again. And thank you for the super chatters today. And let me close with a dog video curated by Justin. I have not seen this dog video before. I'll be watching it with you for the first time. So I'll say goodbye now. Have a great weekend, great long weekend in some parts of Canada. I'll have my evening show tonight, and then we'll see you next week, which happens to be the 6th anniversary of Rebel News. So how much fun is that? All right, goodbye, everybody. Here's a dog video.
Hi, Scarlett. What's up? It's deeper than you are tall. Come here. There you go.